For one whole week, I packed away my laptop and took on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Plus as my main work device. So does it truly hold up as a laptop replacement? Well, here's what I found out. Now let's start with the unboxing. Now if you remember the Galaxy Tab S9, the unboxing process here is pretty familiar, where there's the tablet itself, the S Pen, a USB-C to USB-C cable, a quick start guide, the SIM ejector tool, plus a separate book cover with a built-in keyboard. Now before we talk about the performance, let's talk about some of the features it has first. Now the tab comes with a 12.4-inch dynamic AMOLED 2x display that can go up to 120Hz refresh rate. It also has HDR10 Plus support with a resolution of 2800 by 1752 and an aspect ratio of 16 by 10. So yes, their display is basically the same as the previous Galaxy Tab S9 Plus. Now in actual fact, in terms of specs, this tab is almost identical to the previous generation except for some few key differences. So the main difference that this tab has compared to the S9 Plus is the fact that it is powered by the MediaTek Dimensity 9300 Plus. Now I know some of you are already going to be typing away in the comment section below saying that how Samsung isn't using a Snapdragon chip this time around, and my reply to that is that don't knock it till you try it. Because the performance will surprise you, and I'll talk more about that later. Now the tab also comes with Galaxy AI, which means that features like the Circle to Search, Browsing Assist, Sketch to Image and a plethora of other features all works here, similar like how it does on the smartphones like the Galaxy S24, the Z Flip 6 and of course on the Z Fold 6 as well, but just on a much bigger screen. Now speaking of which, I did some how-to short-form videos of Galaxy AI which I've already released it previously, so do check it out if you haven't done so. Now other than that, it also has 12GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage, and if that amount of storage is not enough for you, the good news is that this Galaxy Tab supports up to a whopping 1.5TB. Now similar to the S9 Plus, it comes with 4 speakers that have been specifically tuned by AKG with support for Dolby Atmos. Now these are some of the best speakers that I've ever experienced on a tablet, but more on that later. And also this tab is one of the few tablets in the world to feature an IP68 water resistant rating, which is a feature that direct competitors still have yet to apply. And another great thing is the fact that the S Pen is also IP68 rated. So imagine you're working outdoors and suddenly it rains, like here in Malaysia. Well, happens all the time. Well, no worries about that. Okay, now that we have finally got the specs out of the way, let's finally talk about my experience using the tab as my main work machine. Now I have to admit, I was quite nervous using this tablet as my main tool for work, especially since I'm very much used to a desktop experience. So coming into this, I was fully expecting an experience that is more like working on a phone, but everything is very much stretched into a tablet size. But thankfully, I had nothing to worry about, as this tablet does perform well above my expectations. Now Samsung has designed a whole tablet ecosystem with the desktop experience in mind. It's basically a pretty good hybrid, both for mobile and desktop as well. Now a lot of people know about this particular feature that Samsung has built into, but also for their smartphones as well, which is called DeX. Remember that? Now that could be very much fun because it does turn your devices into a desktop when plugged in into a monitor. But this tablet comes with a new DeX mode that can pretty much turn the tablet into something much closer to a laptop, not just by the way it functions, but also the way it looks. Now you can access this feature without having to connect to an external monitor and use it straight from the tablet itself. Now all you have to do to toggle the mode is through the quick settings in the drop down menu, and with this new DeX mode, apps will be open in a pop-up and it can be stacked on top of each other. Now I did find this feature to be quite interesting but a little awkward to use, as it can get a little cluttered the more apps that you open, and having to close those pop-up one by one is quite a tedious task. So in the end of the day, what happened was that I just used the tablet without turning on the new DeX mode, as the overall vanilla tablet experience was pretty good enough for me. And one feature that I always love using on a tablet or even on a smartphone is the split screen feature that is pretty much baked into any Android device. Now I mainly use this feature when I want to check on something that I'm writing or just reading up on something while I'm watching a YouTube video. Now, well, yes, I do use this feature with my laptop too, but over here, I love how optimized and well developed it was. And using split screen with my fingers is more of a seamless experience. Then using browser here feels a lot more like a desktop browser, so I quickly got into the groove of things while working. But there was this one thing that I noticed when I was using the keyboard on the book cover is that I need to constantly change the language to English US so that I can use the @ symbol. I don't know why this is happening, and there's apparently no other way around it. A huge shout out to Koki from Nasi Lemak Tech for pointing this out to us. Now, apart from work, I also use the tablet as a source of entertainment. No, wait, that sounds a bit weird. I mean, I also use the tablet for play when I'm not working. Now, watching videos or movies on this tablet is such a pleasurable experience. No, wait, that also sounds a little wrong. Now, I meant that this tab is awesome when it comes to watching videos, and also the screen was really beautiful, especially for the speakers, which was absolutely amazing. Now, this is because the speakers sound incredibly rich and bassy to a point where it sounded like I was having an external speaker hooked to the tablet. And speaking of watching videos, if you guys are enjoying this video, a thumbs up would be very nice, and a subscription to the channel would be lovely too. Thank you very much in advance. Now, I also wanted to test out the Dimensity 9300 Plus chipset, as this is the first Samsung tablet to feature a MediaTek chipset inside. Now, I have to admit that MediaTek has improved a lot for the past few years with their Dimensity chips, even somewhat comparable to the performance of the Qualcomm's chips. Now, Genshin Impact runs surprisingly great on high settings, but because it doesn't have any native controller support, it can get a little awkward to play with a device this big. However, with COD Mobile, you can play it with a controller and it runs very well at max settings. Now, considering the display size and the power that it had, I was ready to try out some emulation games. So I tried to play a little PS2 over here with the OG God of War game and blazed through it without any trouble. Now, speaking of trouble, if you're a little lost and you want a proper recap and you want a written version of this video, we have it at our website at www.adamlover.tv, where there's also daily tech news over there too. Links to the website will be down below. So in conclusion, what do I think after using the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Plus for a whole week for work, and could it replace my laptop? Well, I still think that it's still not a complete desktop replacement. It does come extremely close because Samsung has done really well in offering an experience that is close to a desktop that a tablet could ever be. And while the Samsung DeX had some interesting features and ideas, I feel that the end product could be improved further, as mentioned earlier. But in the end of the day, it is still a very powerful tablet, not just for work but also for play too, with a retail price of 4,599 ringgit or 1,060 USD. But if you're more interested in knowing about last year's Galaxy Tab S9 instead, check that video out over here.